entrepreneurs, and welcome to Working Genius for Faith-Driven Entrepreneurs. My name is Paula Ferris. I spent almost a decade at ABC News. I was the co-anchor of Good Morning America weekends, as well as co-host of The View. But these days, like you, I am an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Carry Media, which advocates for working moms through resources, content, and storytelling. But whatever industry you are in, whether it's healthcare, education, tech, or TV news, we're all at our best when we are set up for success according to our individual strengths, when we're allowed to do what we do well and we bring those unique talents to the table. It is crucial when building a team to know your team's strengths as well as your team's weaknesses, and then build a team that complements one another. And that's what we're going to be doing through this series. We're going to uncover our working geniuses as well as our working frustrations, all because we want to dive deeper into God's call for us to create, and we want to steward the gifts that He has given us. But we're also going to talk about the differentiation between loving what we do and not being defined by what we do, by understanding that our work is not our sole worth. And to do this, we're going to be using a groundbreaking assessment. It's revolutionizing the game for building the right team, for building your team. We know that the journey of an entrepreneur can be really lonely and exhausting, but it doesn't have to be. And Faith-Driven Entrepreneur is a global movement that is dedicated to gathering 1 million Christ-following entrepreneurs around the world and in our respective homes. We want to connect and equip business visionaries like yourself to fulfill your call to create and transform the world around you. We do this a couple of ways: by providing quality content through our podcast, our blog, our app, the Faith-Driven Entrepreneur book, and teaching series like the one you're watching. We are not meant to wrestle with things alone, and clearly we cannot build a business alone. That's why we often say that we want you to come for the content and we want you to stay for the community. Finding friends and allies, it is a key to success on the entrepreneurial road ahead. We offer authentic community through our 8-week foundation groups, as well as our ongoing entrepreneur groups, which are intentionally small and intimate. You can meet in person, you can meet online. It's all free. There's no cost, no catch, just connection. You can find information on the website, faithdrivenentrepreneur.org. Now, in a moment, we are going to hear from New York Times best-selling author Patrick Lencioni and the creator of The Working Genius. So here's his story. In 2020, he began to question why he would feel drained and frustrated in his own job. And in the process of figuring out why he was drained and frustrated, voila, Working Genius was born. Working Genius has helped hundreds of thousands of individuals and teams discover their gifts and transform their work. Now, Patrick, he is a friend of the movement, he is an entrepreneur himself, and he's a faith-driven entrepreneur who leads a few businesses in the Bay Area of California. So today, in this series, he's going to define the 6 types of working genius. They are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. He goes on to explain how each of us excel at 2 of those working geniuses. We manage the other 2, and then there are 2 that just positively drain us. These are opportunities for us to discover where we need help, where we can potentially hire people to complement our giftings, as well as the team that God has already assembled around us. Now, the working genius, it's something you can go through with your partners, you can go through it with your leadership. It might be something that you want to use with your whole team. Either way, it is a crucial step. So without further delay, here's Patrick Lencioni with more on The Working Genius.
Hi, I'm Pat Lencioni. I want to tell you about something called the 6 types of working genius. And before I tell you what it is, let me tell you about how it came about. I've run my own consulting firm for 25 years. And I love the people I work with and I love what I do. I feel very blessed that way. But I found that I was often coming to work and was frustrated. And I didn't understand why. I would be so excited to be there, and sometimes an hour into work, a couple hours into work, I would be frustrated. And I knew this for a long time, but I just thought, I guess that's just me. And finally, one day, somebody at my office said, "Why are you like that? What's going on?" And they asked in a real desire to understand it. And I said, "I don't know, but I want to figure it out." And that day, over the course of 4 hours, I really thought about it. And by the grace of God, I came up with this model to explain my own frustration at work. And so I didn't sit down to do this. I really was trying to get some relief for myself and for the people around me and my family to understand why sometimes I got frustrated when I shouldn't. And then we realized there was something universal about this. And that's what I want to tell you about today, the 6 types of working genius. And I want to be very clear, I believe completely that these are the God-given gifts, talents that we get. And there's 6 possible. And most of us, well, all of us really have 2 that we would consider geniuses, where we get our joy and our energy. And as a result, we're really good at them. And then 2, we're okay at it. We don't get joy and energy from them, but we can manage because it's not terrible. And 2 of them drain us of joy and energy. We really don't like to do those things. And it can cause real problems in life when too much of our work falls in that area. So that's what I want to tell you about right now. The reason why this is so important is because we spend more than a third of our time working. And whether we're working at home or at the office, we do, a lot of time. If we have 24 hours in a day, if we spend anything over 8 hours, that's more than a third of our time. And what I realized is this: sleeping, working, and our personal life, if our work is bad, it really impacts our personal life and our sleep. And so I would never tell you that work is the most important thing. I think it's our faith and it's how we live in our family and friends and our community. But if our work life is bad, it can really bleed into those other areas. And since I was a kid, I've always been fascinated by why some people's jobs were good and some weren't. I love that show called Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, because I was always amazed that some people had jobs that looked terrible, but they were happy. And other people had jobs that everybody wanted. They envied their jobs and they weren't happy. And one of the reasons I've come to realize is because we all have different gifts. I want to tell you about the 6 types of gifts that we have. And every kind of work that you can imagine, whether it's starting a company, running a company, launching a new product or a new program, planning a family vacation, whatever you do in life, so much of it is work-related, it comes down to these 6 different things. So I'm going to explain them right now in order. And then we'll talk a little bit more detail about them later. So the first gift that God may give us is the gift, the genius of wonder. The genius of wonder, that's the W here. People that have the genius of wonder naturally are drawn to ponder things, look at the big picture, observe their environment, and they can sit and consider things and live in that moment for a long time. My wife has this genius, I do not. She can just sit and ponder and think about things, and it's the beginning of any kind of work. Somebody says, maybe this isn't right. Somebody says, could this be better? Somebody says, maybe our customers need something more. Somebody asks the big question because they've looked around, pondered things, and that's the beginning of every kind of work. Now, a lot of people that have wonder don't see it as a genius. In fact, many of them criticized in their lives for wondering. They're like, why are you asking questions? Why are you so up in the clouds? But that's a gift that every kind of work needs, and it's a gift that God gives some people and not others. Now, the next kind of genius is called the genius of invention. That's the I. So the wonderer says, could this be better? And the person with the genius of invention says, I don't know, but let me figure it out. Let me take a shot at that. Let me throw something against the wall. Let me come up with something original. They naturally are drawn to the idea of innovating from scratch and original thinking. I have this genius, and I've come to realize it's God-given. I did it when I was a kid. It's not something for me to be proud of in the sense of like, it's all about me. It's something that God gave me to steward and to use in my career. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't use it a lot. Education doesn't necessarily value that. But later in life, I thought, I love doing this. In fact, I can't help it. And in fact, I do it even when people don't need me to. And sometimes they have to say, I don't think we need the I right now, the invention. But it's one of the things I love. So there's wonder, and then there's invention. But after invention comes the next genius, and it's the genius of discernment. It's a D. Now, discernment is a word in the faith world. We think about discerning our vocation in life and what God wants from this. When we talk about discernment here, it's a little different. Discernment is the ability to evaluate things. It's knowing how to tap into your gut feel and your instincts. And it's about intuition and integrative thinking and pattern recognition. It's not a linear way of thinking. Some people just have this really good innate judgment. And you can ask them a question. Even if they don't have expertise, they kind of see what's going on and they say, this seems like the right answer. And darn it if they're not usually right. There's a woman in my office named Tracy, and my wife will be at home talking about something. Should we refinance our house? Should we buy buy a cabin? Do my clothes look good? And she'll always say, ask Tracy. And it's not because Tracy has knowledge about those things. She just has this really good judgment, and we trust her gut. Discernment is really important because people who innovate don't necessarily know how to evaluate. And so an innovator needs a person with discernment. And it's critical that they go through that loop, and it's feedback. You know, Tracy, she also edits my books. So I write a chapter with a character in it, and she says, this character doesn't make sense, Pat. And I don't say, why? I go, if Tracy doesn't think he makes sense, then I better change it. That's the beauty of discernment. And some people have it, and other people don't. The next genius that comes after discernment is the genius of galvanizing. That's the G. People with this genius, and this is what led me to this model, I do not have the genius of galvanizing. Galvanizers wake up in the morning and love to get people moving. They love to inspire people to act. They love to sell them on an idea and get them to take the first action. They get energy and joy from that. Now, I found that I was coming to work excited to invent every day, and because I was the CEO of my organization and nobody else liked to galvanize, it always fell onto me. And so an hour into my day, I was galvanizing, something that would excite somebody else, but it was draining me. So when we figured out what this was, I actually looked at my team and found a guy that works with me, his name is Cody, who has the genius of galvanizing. And I said, hey, and this wasn't his job. I said, do you want to be the chief galvanizing officer? And he goes, that would be so much fun. And I thought, it would be. Well, it would be fun if I didn't have to do it. My job satisfaction went up, his went up, we got more done, because we were leaning into and embracing our geniuses, and I stopped feeling guilty for not loving something that I thought I had to do. See, if you're an entrepreneur, sometimes we feel like we have to do everything well. None of us do. And so then we either abdicate it, or we grind through it, or even spend most of our time trying to get good at what we're not meant to be. So I actually was able to look and find somebody who was energized by galvanizing and let them have a dream job and get me back to my dream job. So galvanizing is critical. But what comes next is a genius that's so important in an organization, and the people who have it don't really see it as a genius. In fact, they think they're just nice people. And that's called the genius of enablement, the E, enablement. Now, that's a word that we tend to think of corresponding to drug use or alcohol use. Like, don't enable people. But enablement is a wonderful thing when you're enabling them to get something done. These are people that naturally are good at coming alongside somebody and helping them do what they need to do. They're flexible, they help people on their terms. It is such a gift, and a team without enablement really suffers. It lacks the teamwork and the responsiveness to one another. So the galvanizer says, hey everybody, I think this is what we need to do, and the enabler says, I know what you're talking about. I know how I can help. I'm ready to go. I'm in. Enablement is one of the critical things on a team, and it's not just a matter of being nice. It's not just a matter of being easy to convince. It's a gift, and no organization succeeds without it. Now, the final gift, the final genius that God gives some people is the genius of tenacity. That's the T. Tenacity is the desire, the joy and the energy that some people get, not me, from finishing things. They love to blow through obstacles and get things done and achieve what needs to be achieved. In fact, they don't feel happy unless things get finished and we meet our objectives. And God bless these people, because I have none of this. I love to write books. I don't like to finish them. So other people have to say, nope, this is not good yet. Get back in there, and we're not going to rest until you're done. So I have to do things outside of my comfort zone, because if it were up to me, I might not have ever finished any of my books. Tenacity is a brilliant, wonderful thing, but not all of us have it. So what's the power of this? For an individual, know who God made you to be. He gave you gifts that he wants you to use. Know who he didn't make you to be, and to whatever extent possible, avoid trying to do those. Now, all of us have to do things we don't like. We know that as parents, we know that as friends, we know that as workers and leaders. But if we're doing too much in our area of frustration, or even too much in our area of competency, that middle area that we're okay at, we're not using the gifts God gave us, we're not contributing to others and to the world the way he wants us to, and we're not receiving the due satisfaction that he intended for us. I don't think he made us to be miserable. I think he gave us gifts so we could use them and glorify him. So that's the 6 types of working genius, where it comes from, what the different geniuses are, and I hope that helps you in your own life and your own organization.
Again, those 6 geniuses spell widget, WIDGET. So what are your geniuses and what are your working frustrations that just drain you? Identifying those are one of the most important steps to building a healthy and productive team. Now, I know Patrick took you through a slew of information. You're trying to take it in. You're probably taking copious notes. You don't want to miss a thing. But don't worry, you can take a deep breath and find lots more on workinggenius.com. You can also take the assessment online. Also available is Patrick's book. It is called The 6 Types of Working Genius. You will follow the fable of Bull Brooks as he discovers his working geniuses, sheds guilt about his frustrations, and then embraces the type of work that brings him joy and fulfillment. Now, I know you're gonna ask if the faith-driven entrepreneur team has taken the Working Genius assessment. The answer is yes, and it has shed new light on the ways that this team works. What lanes are setting us up for success and what lanes are just setting us up for failure and frustration. In so many ways, Working Genius has been a game changer for the faith-driven entrepreneur team, and I'm confident it's going to be an invaluable tool for you and your team as well. Again, we don't want you to go through this alone. If you're not going through this in a faith-driven entrepreneur group and you are interested in joining an 8-week foundation group, here's a quick 2-minute look at what you can expect. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
From tech ventures to retail, from startup to scale, entrepreneurs travel a lonely road, but our journey to create doesn't have to be alone. As faith-driven leaders, we are part of a vibrant community. The industry and address may look different, and yet our shared identity is firmly rooted in Christ. The good news? You don't have to hop on a plane to find this movement. It's wherever you are. This is especially true with our faith-driven entrepreneur groups. Gather with other like-minded business owners online or in person. Start with an 8-week foundation course. From there, continue meeting monthly. No cost, no catch, just connection. Already, thousands of entrepreneurs from nearly 100 different countries have connected with one another. Featuring dozens of episodes filmed around the world, video stories and teachings address issues common to faith-driven entrepreneurs. These groups give you time to share and discuss together, from our identity and our calling, to the ways we pursue excellence and steward what God has entrusted to us. Perhaps this is the first time you're in community with like-minded entrepreneurs. Or maybe this is quickly becoming a part of your journey. Wherever you are, others can meet you there. Be reminded that we're all connected to something bigger than any one person, business, or country. Faith-driven entrepreneur is made up of each one of us, and it is driven by all of us. Together, we're making the journey of entrepreneurs less lonely.